so you guys know why you're here. And so I go, yeah, we tried out for the band. And he goes, yeah, you guys are it. And we all stopped. And pretty much what I thought was like not so much an enemy next to me, but my competition. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Oh my God.
Yeah,
because
honestly.
three of them, their voices was like that perfect. And it's like this male Beyonce that like completely discouraged me at the time. So fast forward a couple years later.
Episode 282 of AJ Show. Yeah. Deserves applause. We've been traveling around the world, and now we're on JonPaul. JonPaul, where are you at?
Hi, I am currently in Nashville, Tennessee right now, as you know, yeehaw. So, very country.
Cowboy City.
Also a place with a lot of great music, right? A lot of great music. A lot of
of course.
Nashville, right?
No, honestly, if you guys come by here, I have to take you guys out for some spicy hot chicken. Here it is amazing. It's amazing here. You'll love it.
That's great.
For Sharif and Ali, that would be easy. For me, it's gonna be a long ass.
Right. From Lebanon, right? Yeah.
You have one in LA, one in Canada. I'm in Lebanon, so that's gonna be a long
trip. There you go. Oh, but I am.
No, a lot of great musicians. Sorry, not to interrupt you, man, but a lot of great musicians in Tennessee. But not all of them are driving F-22s. You know, like flying F-22s.
Exactly.
You're doing pretty well, man.
Yeah.
Let him say it. Let him say it. Yeah.
Gotta so I was born in New York, moved down to Florida at like 5 or 6 years old, lived with my grandma. Never got to meet my real mom. But my grandma raised me since I was about 10 months old, and I've called her mom. She's from Jordan. And so my grandmother has 4 daughters and 1 son. Her 1 son is my dad. And his dad died when he was 12. So my dad didn't really grow up with like a father figure, but he is such a very strong and stable man because of our culture. And it's just like, family is everything to me, right. Everything. Mm-hmm. If it's through friends, if it's through like whatever, it's family is family. Mm-hmm. And
it's a strong bond, definitely.
You consider your friends family?
Yeah. When I moved down to Florida, the first person that I met was Ali Swede. When I went to a school down in Delray Beach called American Heritage, and I met him in 2nd grade, and automatically I could pick him out from the crowd. I mean, number one, he's the shortest, but I'm just kidding. No,
that's facts.
I love him to death. I love him to death, man. But him and I have some stories. Him and I have some memories. Him and I have some crying, some fighting, some everything. But at the end of the day, him and I created such a very tight bond that the people that I've known for about 10 years plus is nothing compared to him. It's like, it's nothing at all. And I freaking love him with all of my heart.
Yeah, shout out to Ali for connecting us on this podcast.
Really.
Now.
Thank you, man. Love you, buddy. So one of my favorite stories is it was in 3rd grade, and it was called Culture Day. And every kid would bring in a piece of food or a plate of food from what their culture is. Some kids brought in like, I've got no pizza because they're like Italian. Some kids brought in like just certain exquisite foods. But the thing was, they were mainly American made foods. They weren't things like mensef, walakiwali, things like that. They weren't as us. So I brought in, exactly. I brought in, I forgot what food I brought in, but I think Ali brought in walakiwali, where it's like the grape leaves wrapped in like meat and rice and things like that. Yeah. And I love it to death. So I won't forget this. He's got like this entire display on a desk, welcome to Lebanon, things like that. And I walk up and go, ooh, walatuali. And I take one and I have it, and it was so good. And there was this girl, I forgot her name, but there was this girl that walks up and goes, ew, what is that? And I could see it on his face that he got sad. So I took it upon myself.
How old were you guys, if you don't mind me asking?
I think we were like 10, maybe 10 or 11 at the time.
That would make a kid pretty sad, I guess.
Exactly. So when I saw this, like, I could see kind of like the embarrassment kind of like start to set in on him. So I stepped up to the table. I took like 2 freaking handfuls and just start going to town. Going like, this is so freaking good. Oh my God. Exactly. And because of that, like 6 or 7 more kids come by and go, are they actually good? And probably like 5 minutes tops, the entire plate is gone. He is the first kid in the whole room to have the entire plate gone. And the girl goes like, well, I didn't get to like try one. So I go, yeah.
That's so because you're prejudiced.
Because you didn't. Yeah, it's like, that's kind of because you didn't deserve to. And she's like, oh, never mind. And she just like walks away. And he freaking hugged me, man. He freaking like hugged me. And I'm talking like that. No, yeah. And ever since that day, him and I were just like, I'm talking brothers in arms type vibe. If he's got a problem with a person, that's my problem. Things like that. So when it comes back to friends and family, everybody who is a friend and is close to me is considered family. That's how I was raised. But another cool fact is that for the first few years of my life, when I was in Florida, my dad, who was like 22 at the time when I was first born, was up in New York sending down money to my grandmother and I to keep us afloat, because he got done with legal issues over my real biological mother who lost custody of me. And it was like a whole spiel, dude. It was like a whole thing. She was a drug addict, alcoholic, and no offense, I don't ever want to meet her, because that's not my lifestyle, and I don't partake in that. My dad is probably the strongest man I have ever met in my whole life. Now, I'm not saying he's the Rock, where he's like this big, strong dude. My dad is this like 5'7", nice looking face, short hair, like, hey, how's it going? And it's like, he's super chill. He's super chill. And
dad, yeah.
Exactly. So I was born Arab of descent. I am I call it full. I'm full Jordanian. But I can slightly understand it. I can't speak it as well, and I cannot read it for crap. Mm-hmm. And I tried to learn, man.
It's so different from English, man.
It's just all squiggly lines, and it's like exactly. But I still love my culture. I still love my people.
You still love the food as well. So.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started.
Don't get me started, dude.
Don't even get me started.
I mean, if you ask any tourist that comes to an Arab place, especially since here we're all Lebanese, we can all attest to this. They always have to remember the food. They always remember it. You know, the home meals. Yes. They're just like, I mean, Ali and Sharif, how long have you guys been away from Lebanese food and
grilled kebab? Anything.
Just naming them out. I've got a whole list down the line.
I'm very uniquely positioned that I work in a Lebanese restaurant, so I actually but still,
he's in the back,
just
going.
Yeah, just.
But does it feel the same as like the food?
It's not the same though. Yeah, I was gonna say it's so much, man. I miss sandwich unos. I miss.
You can see the tear just coming down his eye.
Yeah, man. I look at those pictures like you think I'm looking at my dead, like, you know, like relative or something. But I'm actually looking at those sandwiches on my phone.
دي هاي
His
تسوي
mom
ساندويتش
called.
ونص هلا. It's like بجيب واحدة طاووق.
No, but I'm very proud of my culture, and I am very, very glad to be on this podcast with people who think like me and who know of my descent, and we share kind of the same story, the same family values, everything. And I love that.
You said like think like you. Do you think like people in America think differently than the way you think?
Well, see, the thing is, me being kind of Americanized and being of the same Arab culture, I can see from kind of both point of views at times. So I don't have like a full answer to that. It's more of like, you have to be there to see it. You have to like be here in person. Now, when I compare me to the average like American, it's like, okay, well, they like to, kids my age today and younger, they're very, very big into partying, going out with girls, like staying out till like 3 a.m, not picking up their like mom and dad's phone call, which by the way, my freaking father would hunt me down if I was like a minute late. And yeah,
that's definitely an Arab thing. Yeah.
Like, where is he?
But no, it's so funny. One of our friends from high school that me and Ali knew, they were called the Edelman brothers. There was Ryan and there was Andrew. And Ryan was in our grade. Andrew was a grade above us. So he got to graduate before us, and Ryan stayed with us. And Ryan was taking me and Ali at like 9 p.m. to a McDonald's, and his mom called, and he picks it up and goes, "Nah, I'm good." And my heart went, I would have died. I would have died. Like, I'm not kidding. But
your dad would have jumped out of the phone itself. Like.
Out of the phone, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, Baba, I'm sorry. But no, it's not that people think differently from us. It's more of like just cultural values and just cultural understanding is what I mean to dive deeper into that. So yeah.
By the way, do you feel like so you're obviously saying, so you said that you see both perspectives of the American side and the Arab side. I've heard a lot of stories of how people like who are second generation or third generation immigrants in the US, who obviously have become Americans, they have the nationality and everything. They get
accustomed to
in a
it,
sense. No, some people get accustomed to it. They integrate into the culture. But there are others who feel like they're lost. They can't connect to either cultures. They're like, I don't fit in here and I don't fit in there. Have you ever had those thoughts? Maybe
they don't know their identity.
It's an identity crisis. Exactly.
Yes, when I was growing up, and I remember for a year straight, I was 14 years old. It was the day after my birthday. It was 2012, and for an entire year straight, it was mainly because going to a school in like in like South Florida, where all the rich kids and parents and all that is, it was very hard for me because I didn't grow up rich. I grew up, like I said, I never met my mother. My grandmother has raised me. We lived in like a very small house for a few years of my life. So I thought that was the lifestyle. This is it. I'm fine. But when I turned 14 and kids were becoming more mature and more like trying to spread out and to see who they want to become at that age, I wasn't thinking about that. I was like, on one side, I wanted to respect my culture, but on this side, it's like, oh, these kids' parents have money, they have nice cars, they have Xboxes and PlayStations, giant pools and things like that. So when I saw both ends, I didn't know what I wanted. It's that because for a time, I thought that like, it's because of my culture that we're not rich. It's because of me that we don't have this. It's because of me that I can't fit in with neither side. So it kind of threw me for a loop. But this this pretty much happened for like an entire year, and I'm gonna be completely honest, it threw me into like a deep depression. Not to where I can do like dumb stuff, but more of like it quieted me down, and I wasn't as talkative and I wasn't as lively as I was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had that moment in my life where I was like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I can be, because like you said, on one side, I was born in this country, but raised in this culture. So it was like a giant swirl the entire time. So yeah.
And how did you come to terms with it?
Yeah.
Well, I came to terms with it one day when my father sat me down, and he told me his story of how he didn't grow up without a dad, and he was at the same place that I was at, but he got it later down the road. He got it when he was like 23, 24, after like having me, because he said that when he had me as at like a very young age, like my dad had me when he was 20. So that's like, yeah. And he's a fighter, but he said to me that like when he turned 22, 23, he didn't know what he wanted to be because of me. So he was scared that, oh, can I raise him well? Can I do this? Can I support him? Can I do this? Do I teach him this culture, or do I just kind of like Americanize him? So my dad kind of had this same thing, but for me, I'm not raising a child. So it wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But it wasn't as
Not
hard.
the same pressure, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
But no, I grew up and I'm sorry, I kind of get it mixed up between Christian and Catholic, because we both pray to the
same.
God.
God.
So it's
Yes.
it's so weird, because it's like, okay, well, we both go to church, we both celebrate Christmas, we both pray to God. I get it, but what's the difference?
Well, that's what
like just that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
people
I'm
fight
not
over it.
putting it down at all.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, I'm just kind of confused on some terms of it.
Right.
But to answer your question in full, yes, I have had that moment in my life for way too long, and an entire year. So yeah.
Yeah, it is really difficult.
Yeah,
it's difficult because I kind of go through the same thing. I'm like, because I was raised in Lebanon, I grew up there, and then now I'm here in the States. It's strange. I don't know what to make of it. Yeah, exactly. Because should I Americanize myself more? I wanted to, like, my accent was one thing I really hated for a while. I just wanted to get rid of it altogether. So honestly, yeah. But then I'm like, oh,
which accent are you talking about exactly? Ali, the Arab accent or the English American accent?
Habibi, this accent, I sound like this for 7 years, my friend. And then I lost it. I sound kind of like.
Can you switch? You can switch
حبيبي
between like.
ايه انا ربيت بلبنان وحكينا مع الشباب والصبايا ونحن ناكل عربي صح؟ Saeed's judging me right now. He's like, I lost it, dude. I don't fit in Lebanon. I don't fit in here. I don't fit in anywhere.
No.
Where am I?
I mean, the thing is like, yeah, when you do switch cultures and you switch communities, you try to integrate because you want to feel like you want to be a part of the community that you're living in. Since, I mean, you guys are living in the US, why would you try to stick to the community that's it's across the world away from you? So it would be very difficult for you to connect with the Arab community if it's not around you. So obviously you're gonna try to push to connect with the community that is beside you.
Right.
So for example, Ali, you mentioned your accent. I noticed this, and for example, I noticed this on another friend of ours, Hassan, where he and you guys know which Hassan I'm talking about. His accent. So he lived in Lebanon his whole life, and he grew up in Lebanon. He's Lebanese completely, but in 2 years of studying in the US, when he came back to visit us, his accent completely changed. It became an American accent, and
right, because
he really 1 year, man. I mean,
No,
it became like a
no, the one year
Florida
it was still like, you know, it was still going there, you know, it was still in the process. But then in the second year when he came back, it's like completely American. Like what was going on there, you know?
That's I feel like that's part of the thing of like growing up and trying to integrate in different communities and cultures. I feel like not just in culturally, but like for this podcast, for example, I feel like I want to make a podcast, but I don't want to make it the same way everyone else has made it. And I want to make my own kind of version of it with my experiences and stuff. And the same thing, I'm a filmmaker, it's the same thing. So I wonder with you, JonPaul, when you're entering like music, there are like trends and things that everyone likes to do. Do you take those into account?
If I may ask, man, sorry, if I may ask, how did you
literally just asked the question.
Okay, I am going to get to
like
Ali's
before we get
first.
into that, sorry.
Yeah, okay. So, Sharif, I would say that when I got into music, actually, it's a weird story. I stuttered tremendously as a kid growing up. And from the age of like 7 up until like this day, you won't catch it as much because I've gotten very, very well at kind of like masking it and just like not it's
yeah. So I go through the same thing. Like,
yeah.
but instead of stuttering on the letters, I stutter in the sentences now.
You get it. So when I was 12, I was at like a point where so the school that Ali and I went to, it was a elementary, middle school, and high school all combined into one thing. So pretty much you never left that school. Once from like 8th grade to high school, same school. It's just pretty much like one door down. That's it. When I was 12 and my stutter was so bad, I was told to go into sports, to go into technology, or to go into art. And our school wasn't very big on doing music at the time because that curriculum wasn't funded as well. So we had like one guitar teacher whose room was like in the farthest back of the whole school in this like small white room that could probably fit like at least 10 kids. And it was day one, and his name is Tony Vino. And if he ever sees this, I love you and thank you for teaching me everything that I know. This man put a guitar in my hand and he taught me everything that I know. So I started off playing guitar and I was still like, and I didn't want to talk and I didn't want to sing because of the fear of like, these people will make fun of me, these people will not accept me, and that. Because of the school that I went to, you were kind of like X'd out or kind of like shunned if you didn't have money, if you didn't have rich parents, if you weren't very, very good at something. So you have me at the age of 12, weighing like 175, acne everywhere. You only had one choice, man. Yeah. So I chose music. I chose art, and when I picked up a guitar, I went home later that night and I told my mother, and I said to her, "Yemma, I want to get into music." And she's like, "Okay." Like, she didn't question it or nothing. She went, "You want to do it? Let's do it." And which is something that I love, is that most Arabic mothers are very caring, and they can see their child's pain without like no signs. My mom could just look at me and go, "You're upset," and it freaks me out to this day because it's like, how the hell did you know? Exactly. It's like, oh my god. But
my mom's in Lebanon on the other side of the planet. Sometimes she calls me, she's like, "I feel you're upset," and I'm like, "How did you know?"
I sense a disturbance in the force. Yoda? Is that you?
Yoda.
No. But when she said to me, "Okay," I dropped my guitar. Well, I didn't slam it. I put it down and I cried, dude. I freaking cried because it's like she somehow like emotionally like opened me up, and she fixed all these certain spots in me. And a year later, I kind of got like the courage when I turned 13 to get into singing. Now, keep in mind, most kids at the age of 13 are now hitting puberty. So you have this kid going, ah, ah, ah. So that completely threw off all of like my courage. And if people ever tell you that person was born to sing, was born to lift, was born to do sports, nobody's born to do anything. You have to earn that. You have to work hard. And that's something that most people who are at the very top today, they won't show the past, they will show the now, because of like what you do in the dark will show in the light. That's what my dad says.
Yeah, because they always say like people with people who have like an amazing natural talent, they don't succeed if they don't work on it.
Exactly.
So for example, there are many examples of the first thing that comes to my mind is football. There's a lot of naturally talented football players.
Are we talking American football or soccer football?
No, the world, the more globally accepted football.
Okay, got it. Just making sure.
Yeah, but also for the same, like anything in sports, there's always those naturally talented people, but then they don't make it, or they don't make the cut because they don't work hard. They think that they're so naturally talented that they don't need to keep working on it and improve.
Yeah,
because they think there's like, okay, I have this God-given talent or whatever,
and it's gonna stay with me forever.
Yeah, I'm just so good. Yeah, but they don't take into consideration that there's a bunch of other people who do the same thing, and they work even harder than you. Even if they don't have as much talent, they work even harder to be able.
They
to
want
face
it more. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Like I said, that's like a very, very good thing and point of view to say, because I, like my whole life, and I'm gonna be very, very honest, I grew up like a fighter. I, like at a young age, I kind of had like a short fuse. So when kids were like making fun of me, it would set me off in a second. So my whole life, well, not my whole life, but like from like 13 to like 17 is when like puberty hits in. I've got more emotions. I've got just all of this stuff. Exactly. And plus the cultural point of views between being Arabic and being American did not help in the slightest. So I am completely lost. I'm pissed at everybody. And I think that I do not owe anybody anything, and the world owes me everything. This was like the most toxic thing that I have ever done to me, ever. And I'm not proud of those moments. Now, I didn't fight people and I didn't go and beat people up, but kids were still picking on me. Kids were still making fun of me. Kids were like, it was bad. Like, it got bad. Guitar, man. Exactly, right?
It's cool, man. Yeah.
So high school happens. Ali and we kind of separated because he goes off like medical school, and from Florida, I moved. I actually forgot to tell you guys something. So when I was 6 years old, do you guys know the band Creed? Have you guys ever heard of the band Creed?
Yeah, I've heard of Creed. Yeah.
My uncle is the lead singer. Yes, he is the lead singer. Yeah. And I met him when I was 6, and and he married my Aunt Jacqueline, who is my dad's sister. So from 6, when I was living in like Baltimore, Maryland at the time for only like 2 years, I moved down to Florida because of them. And they put me through school. They paid for everything for me. And when I picked up a guitar, he saw that. And pretty much he kind of gave me inspiration, and he put that fire in me that I want to be something big one day, and I would like to go on tour. I want to write songs, I want to write music, and I want to just completely rock out on stage. And that was a very, very cool idea. So met him when I was 6. Now we're at 17 when I'm graduating high school. We all moved up to Nashville, Tennessee from Florida. Like I said, here is completely music, and I'm still on that path today. And I love this place. Now, funny story, the college that I went to it's called TSU. This is it. We're the Tigers. And
representing.
Exactly. It's an HBCU, a historically Black college university. Now you can imagine the only white kid walking through. I was like the freaking golden goose. Every person that saw me was like, what is he doing here?
What is that thing?
No, he's like, you're not supposed to be here. No, but I have met the most amazing musicians ever there. And dude, these like coming back to like natural talent, these kids took that natural talent and they freaking ran with it. They ran as hard as they ever could. And to this day, they are grinding. And I see it on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. And when I turned 17, there was a tryout in Los Angeles, California to join a boy band. None of you make fun of me. Shush. Listen. Just let me get through it and then say whatever the heck you want. I'm so used to it.
One Direction? When you've been in One Direction?
Listen, our band's name is called 5 West. And you can tell One Direction, 5, and there's a direction, it's going west. So listen, it wasn't the continuation. Me who came up with the name. It wasn't me. So it was in Los Angeles and I tried out, and the next day I get a call back and pretty much it's like, hey, we want you to come back. And keep in mind, when I heard that, my entire world stopped, because I have never won anything in my whole life. I never achieved something big. I was never on a path that I wanted to actually pursue, because music is it's a very thin line. It's a very thin line.
I think I mentioned this before on the podcast where you want to try out something, something that you're passionate about and you want to enjoy. But what motivates you to stick to it, to keep going into it, is that first reward, that first accomplishment that you have. That's like the biggest motivator, the biggest boost to stick to it, because you're definitely gonna have highs and lows, and you're gonna have there are gonna be times where you don't see any growth, you don't see any positives in that choice, and you start doubting yourself. But the first motivator to tell you that it's like, no, you're on the right path, is that first accomplishment that you get. So I'm guessing that's what you were giving us the example of.
Oh, you have no idea. Pretty much when they called me, I was holding in like the biggest, like, yes! And I stayed calm, and pretty much it's like, yes, hello. And it's like, hi, is this JonPaul? And it's like, yes. And it's like, hey, you came into this studio today. We would like to see you again tomorrow. So as freaking professional as I could, I slightly lowered my voice and went, oh, yes, thank you. All right, see you tomorrow. And I hung it up, and my mom goes, so? And I turned and I dropped to my knees and I cried. And I cried as hard as I ever cried in my whole life. Like I saw the face of God. I cried. Like it was just there. And my mom picks me up and goes, stop crying, stop, it's okay. And the one sentence I said to her was I need to wipe my nose, because there was so much just coming out of my face. And I was just so excited. Next day I go in and I see 4 other guys there. And I was like, oh, did they cut it down to like the top 5? So I'm thinking like, okay, I have to do better than these guys. I have to. And this is for my dream, my passion. And don't get me wrong, they have dreams and passions too. I mean, everyone does. If you don't, God bless you. I don't know what you're doing with your life. But good luck. And I could see it in them that we were kind of sizing each, like, the other person up, like, it's like oh hey, all right, he's wearing those shoes, those pants, okay, and let me hear his voice. And they sat us all down in a room in 5 chairs, and this guy walks out, big guy. His name is oh crap, I forgot his name. I'm sorry, but I know it was our producer, who is now, his name is Brian Todd. Awesome guy, love him. I still work with him today. He walks in and goes, "So you guys know why you're here?" And so I go, "Yeah, we tried out for the band." And he goes, "Yeah, you guys are it." And we all stopped. And pretty much what I thought was like not so much an enemy next to me, but my competition, I was like, "Oh, thank you, Jesus. Oh my God."
Yeah,
because
honestly.
3 of them, their voices was like that perfect, and it's like this male Beyonce that like completely discouraged me at the time. So fast forward a couple of years later, before COVID hit, we were on a arena tour in Europe, and that is the most amazing experience I ever had in my whole life. We were selling out. We were the opening act for the actual band, and the band that we were opening up for, they're called Boysen. Pretty much, they're like the Backstreet Boys of Europe. And they are huge there. They know, like, every person there knows all of their songs. Every woman over 35 knows them. And as you can tell, we are young guys being put in front of 35-year-old women on stage, singing to them about, like, "I'm gonna give you one shot, one chance, romance." And the funny story is, during one of our meet and greets, and I'm not making this up, I just if you guys have any response, I bet you 110% it was much better than mine. We had a line of people who wanted to take pictures with us, and people would come in, picture, "Okay, thank you, next." Like, sign 1 or 2 things. "Okay, next, thank you, next." There were these 2 women, and they were, I don't want to say, in like their 40s. One of them comes up to me, and in front of everybody, looks at me dead in the eyes and goes, "You know how to make a grown woman moist."
Of all the words, of all the terminology,
of all the words, you want to know what I said back was, "Well, I'm dry." And she goes, "Touche." And she took a picture and she walked off. Now, what do you say back to that? What do you say?
That's a lot.
Like, what do you say to that? Dude, there were kids there with parents.
That is true.
Thank you. Next. But these were British people, and
wow.
What I learned about them is that they
are quite
sarcastic. Yeah. Hello. No, but they are awesome. They know how to party. They know how to dance. They know how to have a good time in the crowd. So when I am on stage, and the one thing that I love to see is when people vibe with me, so I feed off that. So I can kind of keep that momentum going on to the next song and the next song and the next song, whatnot. So, like I said, meet and greet, when she says that to me, the boys, all of them just looked at me and went, "What did she say?" And I was too embarrassed, and I can hear her walking off, laughing, just
moist.
Just moist. And I will never forget that till the day I die. So yeah, that's my one good tour story.
You're very powerful. Yeah. You're very powerful, JonPaul. Make all moist.
I may look it, but trust me, I'm not. I'm just me, man.
That's amazing.
But
right. I
right.
wanna ask you, JonPaul.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I do want to ask you.
No,
You're talking about
you're good.
partying and making music. We were just talking about how like you learn the most and you grow the most and you have the best ideas when you're by yourself sometimes. But it's also really important to network and meet people and love music and dancing and such. So how do you find that balance? I don't know if that's something you deal with.
Well,
yeah.
The kind of person that I am is that I can kind of turn it on and off, being a extrovert and introvert. I'm more of an introvert because I like to be by myself. I like to sit and game by myself. And I'm a huge nerd. I am huge into Marvel, DC, Star Wars, you name it. And I love it. Actually, anime as well. I've been recently getting into anime. Yeah, if you guys watch it,
Naruto.
Yes,
Naruto.
Yep.
I knew you were
Naruto. But no, right? And oh, crap, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
But to find that balance is kind of the same thing where it comes back to being Americanized and having my culture. Being like having that 50-50 is that my culture, we are very outgoing, we like to make friends, we like to network, like you said. Arabic people are very friendly, and we all know this. Once you befriend one, they are with you for life, and we all know this. American wise,
we're here together.
Y'all are still here, so it's like my point proven. But on the American side, I was bullied. I was made fun of for who I am. So that kind of took a toll on me, and that kind of forced me not to want to be around people. They didn't accept me for who I am. So I didn't want to be seen by people. It's kind of funny that my job right now is to be on stage, and yet I'm not the biggest fan of people. So it's hard. Like, yeah, like
people,
it's like,
if you're extroverted, you have an advantage, I feel. Even like things like podcasts or music or stuff. Those people, like, some people just love people and can like feed off the energy and love it. And some people that you have to work hard to be able to get to that point.
Yeah. And
I think, man, you should just try to look at the audiences like dollar bills, $100 bills.
Exactly. There's a 5, there's a 10. Are you a 20 in the back? Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, but just like it took a toll on me, and it's still to this day. Like, well, to ask you guys a question. Do you guys ever wake up one day and just say, like, I just don't want to just like be a part of the day today? Like,
wait, you're asking us a question?
Yes, you. Yeah. Like, do you guys have?
It's our podcast, not your podcast.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'm kidding.
I would say yes,
Yes.
actually.
Yes.
And I think it's really attributed to the point that people deserve to have their mind, without them noticing, just tells them, I need this day to shut off. I need this day to rest. Like, it's you might have a hectic schedule, you might have a lot of work or studies to maintain, but then your mind is going to be like, by itself, it's going to force you in a way, like, no matter how much you push yourself to put in the work, your mind's going to be like, no, I need this day off. Like, this is for me.
I agree, dude. Like, some people like to fake happiness, and like, you can't be happy all the time, dude. And once I learned that you can't be happy all the time, I like, whenever I do feel like sad,
that's what drugs are for. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. You're like, wait, hang on. No,
we do not endorse this.
Don't do drugs.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Not from us.
Don't do drugs, kids. No.
When I do get
we've
sad,
actually had that discussion. Yeah.
Yes. When I do get sad, I like to just accept that I'm sad. Pretty much. I'm like, okay, today I'm sad. It's gonna be fine. Tomorrow I might feel better, but today I'm sad. Let me not try to push myself too much. Pretty much.
Exactly.
And,
accepting your emotions. That's an important thing.
And as for me, it was very, very hard to accept my emotions at a young age because, like I said, I had a short fuse. Nobody would really accept me except for Ali. And he was kind of like, and I know this sounds weird, for quite a bit, he was kind of the light in my life for a bit at times, because he would send me texts like, hey, are you okay? Hey, do you want to like go grab food today? Do you want to go do this? And actually a story about that is that we were, for our school, for the seniors, we would do senior day, which they would take all the seniors in our high school. We would drive to Universal Studios and we would stay there till like 4 a.m. And on the bus ride back, I was like knocked out, my head's up against the glass, and I feel something slide underneath my head. And I look and it's him putting a pillow underneath my head, because my head was propped up against the glass. And if you guys have ever put your head on glass while like riding a bus, exactly. So he stopped me from getting a concussion.
That's sweet.
It's just
I have to know, like, why is a guy walking around with a pillow?
Listen, this kid brought the most random things to school I've ever seen in my whole life. Like one time he brought like a fake red nose for no apparent reason and was just walking around. He was the he was the nicest person. He was always the life of the party, and he was constantly trying to keep people up and afloat, which I said to him, like, why do you do this? And he said back to me, it's because no one else will. Like, he said to me, be the change that you want to see in this world. And I took that to heart, and to this day, exactly, right? He just runs off. No,
yeah, but a little less dark than
exactly.
Actually, way less dark.
There's more men stuff and there's less violence. So that's all I can say.
Yeah.
But I love him. I love his family, and I'm very, very grateful to this day to have him as a friend. And like I said, he actually brought me to you guys.
Shout out. Shout out.
Exactly.
Honestly,
Shout out, brother.
I love friends, dude. That's why I love doing this podcast.
Don't mind me asking.
Friends doing it. Sharif, running out of time here. You can ask one more question, but yeah, let's before we wrap up here. If you want to
Saeed, what's the story? How do you know Ali, his friend?
So I met him. You mean how do I know Ali, or just how do I know Saeed?
How does Saeed know Ali? I know how you know Ali.
Oh, yeah. How do you?
Okay, so basically, this was his first year in AUB when he transferred, and I forgot the exact day of how we met, but I know it was through Red Cross. So I was a volunteer. It was my third year.
He was volunteering with the Red Cross. What a hero, dude! This guy. The people are sleeping. Honestly,
good job, man.
The light of the tunnel.
He's out there.
He's out there helping the world, dude. Good for him, man.
Basically, he volunteered.
Amazing.
He was a volunteer.
Being a light in the world.
So we just met up on the branch, and being his very outgoing personality and his complete randomness, and me back then being also
Tell me about it. The most random person you'd ever meet.
Exactly. And me being my own random character, which my friends can attest to. But at that time I was a bit more in a darker zone. So, I was random, but more.
He was the light, came to your life and helped you out. I heard this before, bro.
No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. The way I got over my darkness was through therapy and self-reflection. That's how I got through it. Not Ali's twin. But yeah,
can I say one thing?
Go for it.
The fact that you actually realized that you were going through something and that you wanted to fix yourself, that is a huge thing, and like, for real, I am very, very proud of you as a person to actually be and take charge in that, and it takes a lot of thought to sit back and say, like, hey, I'm not okay, because some people kind of lie to themselves and say like, I'm fine, I'll be fine, this will pass, but it never does.
Very
So
true.
yeah, dude,
Very
for
true.
real, like, great job.
Proud of you, Saeed.
Thank you.
Proud of you, Saeed. You too, JonPaul. JonPaul, before we wrap up here, time's running out, but I want to ask you one more thing. What's next for you, JonPaul? What are you working on next?
Well, I recently joined the Air Force. I'm supposed to go off to basic training in a few months, and I am part of the 118th Battalion wing here in Nashville, and I am part of the 105th Attack Squadron. My job there is I do intel work, so
you're a spy.
I can find.
What's that
Are we recording?
Okay.
We got him, boys.
We got him, boys. It's SWAT team enters. Yeah, exactly.
Just for future stuff, I can't really fully answer that, but my band and I, we are coming out with a new song in a few months. You can find us on Instagram at 5 West Music. That's 5 West Music. And you can find me. Yeah. You can find me at JonPaul 5 West on all social platforms. 5 West.
There you go. To the show.
I do actually. I do follow you guys, and I will promote this on the band account. So we just hit like 15K.
We're going to.
I got you guys.
Show. Let's do it.
So listen, you guys will have a bunch of our fans come up to you and just be like, "So what's he like?" So good luck, guys.
What's he like in person?
Does he make you moist?
All right.
Does he?
This is another episode of the show. Thanks for coming on, JonPaul. It's always saying that.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you, guys. See you.